Thanks for coming, you guys. We've got some quiet music playing for us. We're actually going to focus today on our hips. So let's come on down to a seat. What's my next week? So we can read off some notes because we're practicing some somatic healing, somatic release today. So I'm starting with my feet together, and I'm going to put my hands here on my knees and then just wobble side to side, nice and gentle. We're focusing again on release from our hips, starting by letting our knees fall side to side. So the point we're focusing on is here on either side of our knees, the outside of our knees, just rocking them side to side. And then as you find your center, you can put your feet up in front of you, continuing the same motion. This is a little trickier, so take it nice and slow to bring your knees up. This is where you're going to start to engage the lower back and abdomen as well. Squeezing those knees up and in front of you. Feet are about shoulder width apart here. And what we're trying to do is just ground ourselves from the hips. Regulation coming before reflection. So before we see how things are feeling, we're just focusing on opening, setting a safe foundation for stretching, for growth, and strengthening. So to support you here, you can start to extend the hands behind you toward either side of the hips. Widening the stance just a little so the feet are a little wider now than shoulder width apart. And again, we're just moving from side to side. So the points we're focusing on here is from the big toe through the right side, the lower part of our heel. So hitting that point at the top of your big toe and then swaying it toward the side of your heel. The palms are here to support you behind your hips. Taking it nice and slow, of course, to open up those shoulders, pushing them up, back, and together, slightly down, encouraging the chest to open. Pairing now this with our breath. So we're breathing in through our nose and out from our mouth. Again, just guiding the body to be calm, not focusing at all on calming the mind, but allowing the body to calm the mind. Slow breaths. A nice breath you can do with this is 2 breaths in to the nose, hold for 2, and then release. Fully from the diaphragm, right below the ribs. So we're feeling a slight pinch through the stomach as we exhale. We're going to start to slow down and find our center now. Great job, you guys. I'm just going to face to the front so you can see how I'm going to bring in one leg toward the hips while bringing one leg out toward the front of the mat. So we're creating kind of a 90-degree angle with our right leg, left leg outstretched here. I'm going to keep the toes up as I hinge at the hips and bring the chest toward the knee. My hands can come toward the leg. If you're able, you can come around to either side of the heel and slightly push the foot in toward your head. The point you're really focusing on here is bringing the chest toward the knee. Starting to extend now from the hips. So keeping those hinged hips, your focus through this movement. We're starting to slow down now, just focusing again on the breath, guiding the body to calm the mind again. So taking a deep breath in through the nose, holding, and then releasing fully. To deepen the stretch, again, bringing the head down toward the leg, chest toward the knee. Great job, guys. I hope you guys have a great holiday. It could be a stressful time, right? So that's why we're focusing on our hips today, on somatic release. A lot of our stress can be stored in the hips, and the holiday season can be chaotic. It can be crazy. Finally, time for us to release, reset, get our bodies ready for the new year. Last week we focused a lot on the great gift God has given us, Emmanuel, He is with us. Today we're focusing on the same. Our verse of the week is He sends His word and melts them. He causes His wind to blow and the waters flow. We'll stay here for one more breath as we just think through that verse, relate to it. Think of what it means to you. He sends His word and melts them, especially that phrase. He sends His word and melts them. Deepening for one more breath. Exhale fully. And then inhale nice and slow, bringing the fingers back up toward the hips. And again, practicing that same motion, bringing one leg in toward the hips, opposite leg out toward the front of our mats. Nice and slow through that movement, maintaining that hinge through the hips as we bring the chest again toward the knee on the opposite side, centering from the hips every time. Grounding first from the hips for safety and security so we can stretch and grow successfully tonight, starting always from the hips. Maintaining that hinge, we've got a 90-degree angle now through the left leg. That front leg is again, that right leg is front toward the front of our, sorry, here's some stomping around upstairs. We'll keep that in mind for next time. Thanks for your patience, guys. A nice laugh is always good too for somatic healing, somatic release. So keep that in mind. There's been classes, actually yoga classes, where you laugh through the class. So that can be a great way to release, embracing somatic release tonight, especially from the hips. So we're okay with some shakiness. We're okay with some loud breaths. Feel free to vocalize and embrace the healing that comes with release. Again, guiding the body to calm the mind. So we're continuing to close that space between the chest and the knee. Maintaining that hinge from the hips. And again, you can provide a gentle push at the base of the heel here. Feel free, of course, to bend the knee here. We don't want to lock the knee because we're focusing on stretching from the hip for this movement. So you should feel this through the side of the hip. Continuing our deep breaths as we remember that phrase, He sends His word and melts them. And so as we guide our body to calm our minds, we can consider animism and how we can apply life to the world around us, such as seeing life in a tree, seeing life in the wind, in the waters. This verse reminds us that God's life force is in those things. He's all around us, Emmanuel. He is with you everywhere. So we're imagining that energy surrounding us, providing safety and comfort as we continue our breath, guiding our bodies to calm the mind. In through the nose, hold for 2, and release fully from the diaphragm. Again, deepening that stretch as you do so, continuing to close that space from the chest toward the knee. We'll stay here for 2 more breaths. One more breath fully out. And then inhale, guiding the fingers back up toward the hips. Great job. And this time, both feet out toward the front. So let's extend those toes for just a moment. My hands can stay here to keep me steady on either side of the hips. And I'm just going to push the toes up and down for just a moment to center from the legs. Fully extend from the knees. And take any pressure off, especially through the sides of our legs here that we've just stretched. Great job, you guys. Now we're going to pick a side. right or the left. I'm gonna start on the right side today. So I'm just putting the weight on my left hip with my feet to the right, my hands keeping me steady here. And what we're gonna focus on, what we're gonna emphasize here is embodiment. So embodying those entry points, finding our flow through this sequence. So we're starting here with our feet to the side, our weight is on the opposite side, and we're shifting fully to that side so that our palm can push us up onto all fours, straight into tabletop. I'm gonna turn this way so friends at home can see how we're pushing straight up into tabletop. And right from there, shoulder width apart, our leg is gonna swing up to the side and come right down, again, shoulder width apart. Opposite leg, swinging the hip up and right back down. Finding our flow through this sequence. We're moving a little faster now, right? So we're taking it still slowly enough that we feel comfortable and we feel a stretch, that we're still focusing on those entry points, those focal points. Our focal point here is the side of the hip through the knee. So lifting from the side of the hip, bringing the knee up toward either side. Nice and slow, but still faster than it would be if we held this pose, because we're not here to do Pilates. We're not here to do a workout. We're here to stretch. So nice and slow until you feel that stretch from our entry points on the side of the hip through the side of the knee. Let's continue this for 2 more breaths. And stop here at our center. Great job to ensure that our hands and knees are about shoulder width apart. We're extending the spine, and we're again shifting our weight toward that side, bringing in that one side toward the hands while extending the other towards the back of our mat. So this is kind of an adaptive pigeon pose. If you'd like to use a block to support you here, that'd be a great time to pull that in and bring that toward your wrist. Then extending the forearms down, resting the elbows on top of that block for some support through this movement. If you're able to close that space and bring your forearms all the way down toward your mat, you can do so. You can even windshield wiper that foot up toward your chest to deepen this stretch as well. Because what we're trying to do is keep our hips square while pushing our weight towards that left side. Great job. Continuing the breath as we do, we're continuing to close that space from the left hip down to our mat. Focus now on melting your body down. The same way as we heard in that phrase, he sends his word and melts them. We're imagining the way our body is melting into the earth, the environment around us. This is a method of grounding our bodies here. If you're finding that gravity is pulling you down a little too fast for your hips, liking, you could also place your block right under that left hip to also support your weight through this movement, allowing it to rest instead on the block, melting into the block there for some extra support and steadiness. Again, keeping the hips square through this movement so that our right leg is outstretched and our left is melting down toward our mat. We're holding this one for a few moments because we do want that left hip to melt down toward our mats. Focusing on that entry point, relaxing and resetting it fully here. This is where we're allowing release. Our body and mind needs to be open and imaginative to receive his words and his gift. A lot of the Bible is proverbial or poetic. And so naturally we need to be in a state of mind where we're open, we're imagining. Has a kind of mystical element to it, right? And so that's what we're doing right now, is just visualizing our body melting into our mat, allowing a space where we feel safe enough to hear that poem, to hear that proverb, to hear that word. Staying here for one more breath. Again, exhaling fully as we allow that melt through the right hip. And then inhaling as we push our weight slightly up to the ball of the right foot, pushing up through the knees, then the palms, and then allowing windshield wiper the feet to come back together into our tabletop. Great job, you guys. So we're taking that nice and slow to come back up into our tabletop and recenter here. Now that we've relaxed, we've created a safe space for us to reset. Now we're going to reflect. How is our body feeling here, especially that left hip? We've allowed it some space to really melt into our mat, to open fully. So take notice of how it feels. Feel free to rock here, just moving from the hips. That's our entry point now. Right at the sacrum, so right at the tailbone, the base of the hips. We can rock front to back. We can find ourselves in child's pose, stretching fully back, the hips to the heels. Allowing some time to reflect on how that hip is feeling. Great job. Again, considering how that hip is feeling as we recenter ourselves back into tabletop. Ensuring again that our hands and knees are about shoulder width apart. As we again move through these dynamic movements, finding our flow again, lifting from the side of the hip through the knee, side to side. Pairing this movement with our inhale and exhale. Exhaling down, inhaling up. Feeling free to take things slower or faster, just finding our flow from the side of the hip through the knee. We'll continue this for 2 more breaths. And we'll find our center. Again, ensuring the hands and knees are about shoulder width apart, taking into account how that left hip is feeling as we extend it back this time, switching to the opposite side. Again, our kind of adapted pigeon pose. We can bring in our block here, bringing the hands or forearms down to it, or coming straight down to our mat to close that space between the chest and our mats. Again, allowing the right hip now to support our weight through this movement. Feeling free for a little shakiness or sway here so that we can find our center, ensuring that our hips are staying square through this movement. Again, if you'd like to place the block under your right hip to support you, if you find that gravity is pulling you down a little too fast, we don't want to cause any discomfort or injury through the right hip here. So always taking into account how that's feeling, how fast it's melting down toward our mat, closing that space from our hip to our mat, just melting here. Again, allowing our mind and body to be open and imaginative to receive His words and His gift. If you'd like to deepen this stretch again, you can walk those toes up closer towards your chest, closing that space between the foot and the shoulders. Encouraging the hips to stay square through this movement. So again, there's kind of this mystical aspect to receiving God's word, to studying the Bible and hearing these phrases relating to them. Some will call this received wisdom, right? These mystical elements of the Bible. In Jewish mystical study called Kabbalah, Tikkun is our soul's correction. So that's where awareness of our purpose is found in patterns of adversity. So these are patterns that we notice and cycles that we notice in our lives that call us back to correction, to received wisdom, to that mystical, magical part of spirituality that requires us to be open and imaginative, to melt into the world around us, causes the wind to blow and the waters to flow, as we heard in our verse this evening. So let's kind of tap into that mystical and magical part of life that so many of us can relate to spiritually right now. Whether we call it energy, we call it the Holy Spirit, we call it God. That energy that connects us, that's the life force in trees, in water, in mountains, in us. We connect to it through our breath. It calls us back. We'll stay here for one more breath, breathing out fully from the diaphragm as we close that space between our mat and the right hip. And then inhaling to walk back up to the forearms, then the ball of the foot, now the knees, as we push back up into tabletop, nice and slow. So you might feel some tightness through the hips again. Let's take a moment to reflect, you guys. Rocking from the hips. Again, noticing how those entry points, those focal points we're focusing on today are feeling, especially through the sides of the hips and at the base of the tailbone at the sacrum here. Some gentle rocking. We can draw some circles, or we can move back towards the heels, back up. We can find ourselves in child's pose here, just reflecting, especially now on how that right hip is feeling. After we've created this safe environment for it to melt, for it to release, we notice we feel open, we feel free, we feel flexible. Taking a moment to reflect on any, especially areas of tightness through the hips here. And now too, how the knees and wrists are feeling. They've been supporting you all this time. Feel free to draw some circles with the wrist here. Relaxing or resetting at any time. We can always find ourselves in an easy seat or child's pose if we'd like to relax and reset, guys. Feel free at any time to take a rest, because we're going to move right back into our flow. Again, ensuring that our hands and knees are about shoulder width apart, and then stretching up from the side of the hip to the knee, pairing that movement again with our breath, lifting up from the side of the hips. Continue in our breath as we do so, because again, we are stretching. Not focusing on strengthening, just on moving from those focal points, which stretch through the hips, so that we can stop again at our center point. And this time, bringing the big toes together, we push the hips back toward the heels and extend the fingers to the front of our mat to relax fully, reflecting here in child's pose. So here we're melting both sides of the hips down to our mat now, or rather down toward our heels. And we're now extending that motion through the spine. So we're hinged at the hips and we're extending that stretch toward the front of our mat. So starting at the lower back, we imagine that pull up toward the shoulders and through the arms, extending through the fingertips. Allowing both the hips and chest to melt down at this point toward our mats. A good place for the block would be here at the forehead, here. We can also create a small pillow with our hands, one on top of another, at our foreheads to provide gentle support, especially to the neck. Because again, we're here to stretch, we're here to reflect. At this point, noticing how the body is feeling as we melt down toward our mats. Noticing any areas of tightness or tension. Taking note of them and breathing into them. Continuing in for 2, hold and release. Holding from the diaphragm, keeping those abs engaged just through our breath. By keeping our core engaged, we're ensuring that the hips stay square and hinged fully so that we're pressing them back just slightly toward the heels and continuing that extension through the spine. Great job. We'll stay here for one more breath. And as we inhale, we'll lift again from the hips up to the forearms, back to our tabletop position. You guys are doing a great job. I'm going to start to extend now the knees toward the back of my mat and bring my forearms down to support me so that I'm laying now on my stomach. Another great place for our block here, we can put it here on our forehead to support our neck again as we lay down on our stomach here. And we're just going to stay here and lay for just a moment so that our body can get used to this feeling of laying on our stomachs. We are flat on the floor, just allowing our bodies to melt onto our mats here. Continuing that breath through the core. Ensuring those muscles are activated through the abdomen here to maintain proper posture through the spine. As we especially don't want to overcompensate at all in the neck or shoulders here, allowing those areas to relax and melt as well. Relaxing, releasing any tension through the shoulders and neck as we breathe out of the diaphragm. Great job. Let's stay here for one more breath and then inhale back up to the forearms so that just my chest and head are off the mat now. I'm now going to bring up one knee toward one elbow. So my left knee is coming up toward my left elbow. I'm just hinging at the hips there, kind of crunching, crouching to close the space between my left knee and my left elbow. You could actually add your block under the lower stomach here. If you find gravity's pulling you down again a little too fast, we want to take it nice and slow as we melt the left hip here toward the left elbow. As you breathe, you can bring it up just slightly, keeping those toes stretched down toward the bottom of your mat. Great job, guys. So we're mimicking that same kind of motion of just melting from the hip. But this time our weight is shifted toward the side that's straight. So our weight is focusing on the right side of our hip. right side is holding us, keeping us steady. As we continue to close that space between the left knee and left elbow. Staying here for one more breath, and then exhaling, I'll remove that block to come back down to my tummy. Again, melting into my mat, my hands here at my forehead. We walk you all through this job so that you're allowing your neck and shoulders to again melt and release. We'll stay here for 2 breaths, and again on the inhale, coming up to our forearms, and shifting our weight now to the other side. My gaze is following toward the right side this time, closing that space between the right knee and the right elbow. Again, toes extended for the back of your mat. Again, I can place my block here at the lower stomach. Melting into it, weight is shifting now to the left hip. And again, that right hip is getting crouched in to itself toward the right elbow. This is another pose, another sequence that emphasizes embodiment, where we're valuing integration over insight. We're not focusing too much on our posture. We're not focusing on reflecting, just on doing, on moving through the movement. Noticing those focal points. Here our focal points are that right elbow and that right knee, just closing the space between the two. Good job, guys. So this would be a great time again to remove that block, allowing yourself to melt down for one more breath, and then extending, keeping those abs engaged as you bring your body back down to melt fully onto your mat. One more time. Great job, everybody. So we're going to stay here to finish our sequence this evening. If you'd like to lift just one heel at a time and kick it back toward your hips. It's a great dynamic movement to help recenter your hips here. Continue your breath as you do so. You might find yourself